that's fine. My name is Jane Brooks. I have a doctoral degree in psychology from the University of Indianapolis. I received my bachelor's degree from Ball State University and my master's from Indiana University of Bloomington. I currently work as a forensic psychologist at the Indiana Health and Human Services Commission since 1992. I have testified on the witness more than 12 times in my career as a psychologist in regard to competency to stand trial. I have many publications in regard to nonviolent crime and mental illness, and also have done extensive research on decision making and the assessment of competency to stand trial in 2018. During my interview with Mitch Ritchie, I saw many red flags. As for Ritchie's mental state and in regard to the DSM-5, I believe that he may be suffering from generalized anxiety disorder, schizophrenia, and it is known that Ritchie has a history of substance use leading to a substance use disorder. Mitch's father was diagnosed with schizophrenia, which is a hereditary disorder in many cases, and his father also had a substance use disorder pertaining to alcohol. His brother also has a series of mental health complications as he has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Mitch stated that he experienced hallucinations and delusions for more than a month that interfered with his personal life, such as going to school and work. Drugs have always been a source of release for Mitch, as he has struggled with addiction since the young age of 13. Meth became his crutch when his hallucinations and delusions got the best of him. Mitch also stated that on more than one occasion he had tried to commit suicide by overdosing on meth. Using the fitness interview test, I determined that Ritchie is not capable of demonstrating appropriate courtroom behavior, and I do not believe that he has the capacity to testify relevantly. His mental state at the time of the offense is in question, as he felt angry, aggravated, and on edge. His family members testified the same. Mitch was not taking his prescribed medications to hinder his schizophrenic episodes, and he was abusing meth. Mitch Ritchie was experiencing a schizophrenic episode during the commission of the crimes against him. The defendant has shown active signs and symptoms of substance use disorder, and his schizophrenic episodes have rendered him incapable of making informed decisions. According to my evaluation, Mr. Ritchie does have mental illnesses that would interfere with his understanding of court procedures and his ability to assist in his counsel. The defendant does not meet the need for involuntary hospitalization at this time since he is back on his prescribed medications, but it is my recommendation that he not be allowed to testify in his trial, as he has not demonstrated the knowledge of what is required for a person to testify, as established by Rule 601 in Indiana Code Title 25, Criminal Law and Procedure. I recommend that he seek help for his anxiety, schizophrenia, and substance use disorders. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on behalf of the prosecution today. What was the time and place of your evaluation with Mr. Ritchie?
I met with Mr. Ritchie for his evaluation on March 18th of 2020, and I made the report on March 19th. He was interviewed at the Center for Forensic Psychology of Eastern Indiana.
And how long did this evaluation last?
The interview was conducted over a course of 4 hours. This also included his psychological testing.
In your opinion, what was his attitude during your time together?
I noticed that Mr. Ritchie seemed somewhat distant in our time together. He rarely made eye contact. He was reluctant to share personal information, and he was a little bit defensive, in my opinion.
You stated that you used the fitness interview test to determine if Mr. Ritchie was capable of demonstrating courtroom behavior. Please describe this test to the jury.
So the fitness interview test is a tool used by mental health professionals, such as myself, to evaluate competency to trial. The test will last around 30 to 45 minutes. The instrument is intended to serve as a tool to assess legal issues and concern with other methods of assessing additional clinical issues. This includes mental status and diagnostic considerations.
Did you deem Mr. Ritchie competent or incompetent to stand trial?
Based on my educated assessment and opinion, I deemed Mr. Ritchie incompetent to stand trial.
After this initial evaluation, did you do a more thorough investigation of Mr. Ritchie's competency after ruling that he was incompetent, like the fitness interview test recommends?
Due to time constraints, I was not able to perform a more thorough investigation of Mr. Ritchie's competency due to the fast trial that he was given. Although the fitness interview test recommends that a more thorough investigation be done, it's not required in all cases.
Recent research has stated that psychoticism is no longer associated with incompetency. When someone has a psychotic episode, it is possible that they can still understand. When someone has a psychotic episode, is it possible that they can still understand and make informed decisions?
Mr. Ritchie not only had psychotic breaks from schizophrenia, but he was also abusing meth at the time the crime was committed. Both of those together can create a very evil mindset. During a psychotic episode, this is when the hallucinations and delusions are happening. A person cannot make decisions for themselves and they need to receive help as soon as possible. However, it is possible that if someone was not in the episode yet, so they were not experiencing those hallucinations or delusions, they could make rational decisions or at least have some understanding of what they're doing.
You have diagnosed Mr. Ritchie with schizophrenia. Is someone who is schizophrenic always in a state of
Psychosis is defined as a disruption in a person's thoughts. Mental illness can be the sole cause for psychosis. Mr. Ritchie has two mental illnesses that could be contributing to a psychosis. He has the generalized anxiety disorder and schizophrenia. Now, if on medication, this can be stabilized. So to answer your question, no, a person with schizophrenia may not always be in a state of psychosis.
Ritchie has schizophrenia and is prone to psychotic episodes. Does he have moments of clarity in which he is able to understand everything going on around him?
If Mr. Ritchie was taking his medication properly, then yes, he would be able to have moments of clarity where he could understand what was going on around him.
Was Mr. Ritchie on medication during the commissions of the crimes that he is being accused of?
Mr. Ritchie was not taking his medication during the commission of the crime. Many people with schizophrenia stop taking their medication because they believe they are better and no longer need it. However, this can backfire, like in this certain case.
What is your opinion on the effect of him not being on medication during the commission of the crime on his mental capacity?
If a person has schizophrenia and is off their medication, this can lead to their symptoms coming back. Mr. Ritchie was experiencing hallucinations and delusions during the commission of the crime. I think this had profound impacts on why he committed the crime, and if at the time he even knew he was committing one.
Is Mr. Ritchie currently taking medication?
Mr. Ritchie is currently taking his medication.
In your opinion, has this medication helped Mr. Ritchie?
It's helped him tremendously, in my opinion.
Will this medication significantly reduce his psychotic episodes?
I cannot predict when someone is going to have a psychotic episode, but if he takes the medication like he's supposed to, then it should reduce the number of psychotic episodes that he could experience.
Does this medication have the potential to stop his psychotic episodes?
I mean, as stated earlier, I cannot predict this. Medication does not cure a mental illness such as schizophrenia. However, the antipsychotic medication can reduce his symptoms, such as having those hallucinations and delusions.
Will this medication help him to assist his counsel and understand what is going on in courtroom?
Mr. Ritchie has more moments of clarity now that he is on his medication. I'm still very concerned with his previous drug use and the effects that that could have on his brain. My assessment of the fitness interview test was when he was in the withdrawal state from abusing meth, and he was just starting back on his medication. Now that he has stopped abusing meth and is on his medication properly, Mr. Ritchie might understand what is going on around him in the courtroom.
Is it possible that he could become stand trial while taking medicine?
If the medication has been taken properly and as prescribed, Mr. Ritchie could possibly be competent to stand trial.